The Barstar Podcast, hosted by Stephen O'Reilly, is a podcast about working musicians, their friends, and their opinions. Stephen is a musician in Louisville, Kentucky, who has... Wait a second. This guy's a drummer, not a real musician? Somebody gave a drummer a microphone for his voice? The hell? Unreal. Unbelievable.
Hello. Welcome to an extra stuffy episode of the Barstar Podcast. I am your host, Stephen O'Reilly. I want to thank you guys for coming back and hanging out with me once again. Thanks for the feedback. Everything has been awesome. As you can tell, I sound like a gopher in a box because winter's drunk and it won't go home. And I have a massive head cold. But I thought it fitting with who I'm hanging out with today because on a episode I did couple months ago, this gentleman's name came up and I was extra stuffy on that episode, so I figured, warts and all, why reschedule? I hope everybody is doing well. I hope everybody had a good week, and as always, I hope you guys went out and did some shit. Please make sure you check out my sponsor, Prophecy Inc. You know the deal by now. Go into the shop and mention the Barstar Podcast. You will get 10% off your tattoo from any artist in the shop, not just Travis. I am not flying solo today. You've already figured that out. I am hanging out with my buddy, the one very gorgeous, very handsome man, my pretty friend. He's so pretty. Oh my God, you're so pretty. One Mr. Chuck Deering. How are you, sir?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming over and bringing your hot wife. She's hot. And she's in the room.
Trophy.
She's not a trophy. She's hot. And she's cute. I like her. She's nice. So how's things, man? How's life?
Doing great. Work's busy. Playing, going to the gym.
You go to the gym? Never.
Just keeping myself busy. No kids, just a house full of cats.
Well, I got that too. Well, okay, actually I don't have that, but I sort of have that. Yeah, I didn't get my tickets to your gun show, and I'm not going to get any. So I had you on the show for a couple reasons. One, because even though we've known each other for a while, we don't really know each other super well. That's number one. Number two, you were the first person that came up when I did Brian's episode, I don't know, years ago, because you and Brian have this kind of weird, strange connection. Brian Guess is who I'm talking about. You guys have this weird, strange connection. So I think, just for history's sake, let's start there. How did you meet Brian?
How did I meet him?
Mm-hmm. Or how do you know him? Either one. I mean, you don't have to be super specific. You know, you've listened to all my episodes. You know how my show works.
No, I remember the very first band I was in. We went by the name of Teaser at the time.
Yeah, he talked about them.
He
threw you under the bus a little, not much.
Our drummer Scott Soder, who might make a good guest for your show,
Never heard of him.
He's a drummer.
This time I'm serious. I've really never heard of him. I don't know him.
he plays in a band called Turn 3 right now.
I've heard of that band. And
he is an amazing graphic artist, and he is incredible. But
oh, nice.
Painted his own drums. He's really talented. He was always talented growing up.
Are you saying I need to befriend this dude?
You should.
Okay.
You should.
All right.
So anyway, he knew Brian. He brought Brian over, or invited Brian over to our garage one day to practice, and Brian showed up with his, kid and play.
His kid and play flat top.
Yeah, and freaking blew us away. He
so
was
good.
He was killer on guitar back then.
Right.
And ended up not joining our band, but he was cool as can be, so we became good friends and everything. He ended up in a band, and I remember the show he actually mentioned on your show was at a little bar down by U of L, down off Floyd, I think, right by where Cardinal Stadium is now. So our bands played a show there together, and then Brian and I were in a music class together at U of L, and like he said, we would sit in the back of the classroom because the band I was in, all we did was original, and he was all original.
Right.
So we were at we had our Walkmans, and we were passing our earphones back and forth in the back of the class to hear.
Check this out.
And then I didn't see him for years. Years went by, I didn't see him. And when I started working at UPS in 2000,
right,
he was in a telecom group that they worked on like phones and things like that.
The smart people stuff.
Yeah, smart people. And I was sitting there at work one day, and he came in, and I was like, that guy looks familiar.
Right.
And then once I realized who it was, I was like, oh my God, I haven't seen you in forever. And reconnected, and he played in his band Planet with Jeff Williams, who then eventually became a drummer for Naked Garden. So we just, he was a great guy, amazingly talented, and just always, glad we reconnected once I got back to UPS, because I hadn't seen him for a long time after we played together.
Nice. All right, enough about Brian. I'm done talking about his ass. Let's talk about you.
All right.
Because, like I said a second ago, we don't know a whole lot about each other. How long have you been playing bass? Because I don't have a clue. This is where I become a shitty friend. And by the end of this episode, you can be like, fuck that dude, I hate him. Go ahead.
I play music because of my mom. And my sister is an amazingly talented singer. My mom sang. We were always, everything was at church.
Right.
That first band I was in, it was the drummer and the guitar player had a band, and they needed a bass player. My mom had taught me a few guitar chords, and I was playing, some acoustic guitar stuff, but they needed a bass player.
Right.
I was like, well, I want to be in a band. But they didn't need a guitar player. So my mom ended up reluctantly bought me my first bass when I was probably 13. She said, this is a fad. You're a phase that you're going through, and I'm not buying, spend much money on an instrument and everything. So she reluctantly bought it for me for my 8th grade graduation, and I became the bass player in that band, which I was eventually kicked out of because my amp was too small, they said, but they ended up bringing me back into the band. So I guess
amp's too small, you gotta go.
So I guess I started when I was 12, 13, maybe something like that. Then the garage where we used to practice was off Taylor Boulevard.
Right.
If you know Ron Watchmaker and Todd Rhodes.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Todd Rhodes lived on the next street over, and they heard us practicing one night. So Ron and Todd walked over, and of course we had never seen anybody play guitar like that, because he was playing,
Ronnie's amazing. Just ask him. Yeah. He'll tell you.
So totally blew us away. And those were,
what are you giggling about over there in the corner? Yeah, that's what I thought. Carry on.
They were our first introduction into grown up,
right?
Rock music. Because before that, we were taking
squirrel moment. How old are you? Because I don't know.
44.
Okay, so you're a year older than me. All right.
So
Ronnie's
72.
I was gonna say 78. High five in the microphone. Carry on.
Anyway, back to church. There was a guy at church who wanted to start a youth choir.
Right.
And he said that for $25 a week, he would give us lessons. So he started...
A literal quarter...
Literally.
Good job. You beat me to it. Nice. An actual real 25 cent?
Yeah.
Nice.
And half the time, we didn't have change.
Right.
So he would say, don't worry about it, just pay me later. But
later never came.
Yeah.
So you owe that dude some serious royalties.
Yeah. So he taught us church songs, but we were still learning the chords and the strings and everything. And we played in church, but we were playing, How Great Thou Art and things like that. When Ronnie and Todd came over and they showed us Led Zeppelin's Rock and Roll and all the stuff, he was like, ah! And,
yeah.
And so...
hymns are cool, but these are way cooler.
Yeah. Well, I was... From 83 to 93, my teenage years, I was, I'm a child of MTV.
Right.
And that was my, I couldn't get into the bars to see all these bands. So my view was Motley Crue, Quiet Riot. And, so
same background I had, basically.
So to see Ronnie come over and he spun his guitar, around, I was like, ah. So Todd, who wrote original music all the time,
right,
wanted to get a band to play the Carl Casper Car Show, which I know you're not from Louisville, but there was
they used to have the Battle of the Bands.
It was a pretty big deal. There would be 50 bands at the west wing of Freedom Hall, and it would be packed.
Even though I'm not from here, I was forced to learn a lot about this damn city, but a lot of it's actually really cool. And I don't know if you know this, I'm actually into cars and hot rods. I go to most of the car shows every year. And I went to Carl Casper every year until it ended.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, it was a pretty big deal for the bands. And
Oh yeah, I remember somebody. I didn't mean to cut you off again, but I remember somebody recently was talking about it, and they were not only were they kind of bummed that Carl Casper's gone, but they were telling me about the Battle of the Bands and how big they used to be.
Yeah, it was. So Todd got the three of us, guitar player, bass player, and drummer, to basically be his band. This was in '87, I think. But he needed a lead guitar player. So he said, I know a guy. And so this guy shows up at our garage with this cut off pink and black polka dot shirt, bleached blonde hair down to his chest. And we thought, oh my God, CC DeVille just walked in. It was Carl Stuck. And Carl's playing, guitar behind his head. Girls are going crazy out in the crowd. And
well, Carl is kind of cute.
True. But these guys, they showed me what I saw on MTV they made it real. They made it.
What you thought was unattainable is actually, you really can do it.
Yeah. And I think they set my goals pretty high for how I wanted to play. And you don't have to stand over in the corner, and especially the bass player.
By the way, while you're sitting in front of me, I owe you an apology on the show. No. I owe you an apology on the show. On Dave Moody's episode, I said that the majority of bass players are boring, and they are, with the exception of you. You are the one that sticks out, and I owe you an apology. I was wrong. There are a few of you that are not boring. You are not one of them. So
Thank you.
You're welcome. I thought about that after I posted it. I went, shit, Chuck is so not boring on stage. Damn it. So I apologize to you on the show. I saved it for the show.
Well, when Ron came over and, he was playing all this music, we, blowing our minds. And he was like, if you want to play bass, you need to listen to Iron Maiden, Steve Harris. And he was
right.
And then he said, you really should go take lessons from Chip Adams. So,
gotcha.
14 years old, I signed up, started taking lessons from Chip. And, so a step up from what I was doing for the quarter a week, he was actually showing me real stuff,
right?
And finger exercises, and we eventually was showing me how to play, Roundabout by Yes and things like that. So made my playing a lot better. And then as I got exposed to more, not just the MTV stuff, but everybody says, oh, you have to listen to Jocko and all this kind of stuff. So I start.
Who was fucking nuts.
True. But that's one of the things.
I know you've seen that dodocumentary.
I've read his book. I
didn't know he had a book.
Yeah.
I saw that documentary. That dude was out of his mind.
It's just called Jocko. And I really liked the fact that he was so talented, but he would do backflips and stuff off of his amp on stage.
Yep.
And I guess all those things, I try to grab little pieces of different people as inspiration. I'm like, okay, you can be good and not just stand over in the corner and
be a shoegazer.
Yeah. So
I already apologized, man. Leave it alone. I'm just kidding.
No, when I love playing some AC/DC. It's a good time, and you can drink your beer and play it at the same time. But I enjoy playing stuff that pushes you a little more.
Right.
But I think you can do that with a fun attitude also.
Well, absolutely. That's why and I don't talk about it often because I don't give it a whole lot of thought. I don't put a whole lot of stock into it. But and I'm not saying anybody in particular. I'm not giving examples, not because I'm afraid to. I just can't think of any names off the top of my head. But there's a lot of guys from here and from Atlanta and other cities I've lived that think what I do is garbage as far as all my flash and all that bullshit. And I've told them all the same thing. I tell them every time, I don't do that shit for me. I don't do that shit for you guys. I do that shit for whoever's in that room and paid their money to come see me. Do I have fun doing it? Most of the time I do. But I said it on Dave's episode. That shit hurts. After a while, I'm getting old. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. I wake up from gigs. It takes me a few minutes to get out of bed. But the point I'm getting at is I don't do it for other drummers. And now this I have said on the show. I don't care what other drummers think about me. I could give two shits. If you think I'm awesome, cool. If you think I suck, cool. I don't really care. Because they're never going to hire me for a gig. They may hire me for a fill-in, and that's a completely different scenario. Or scenario if you're an asshole to cloak Dane Cook, which I think is funny as shit. But seriously, I don't do it for any other reason than to entertain people. It's my job. That's our job. There's a very small period of time where being a shoegazer was cool. Granted, everything that's flying out of my face right now is my opinion. There's a very small window of time where being a shoegazer was cool. oh, I'm artsy fartsy. That shit got old quick because people were they were spending their money to go see a show and they weren't seeing anything. We're just listening to 4 or 5 dudes play some song. I could have saved $150 and sat on my couch for this. You know what I mean?
I know in some conversations I believe the same way you do, that I'm going to see something.
Mm-hmm.
I buy the music, I can listen to it and hear it exactly how it's supposed to sound.
Yep.
So I'm okay with a mistake, but if
I am too.
If you're in the studio, yeah, you try to, you're working to nail that, as perfect as you can. You're not twirling sticks in the studio usually.
No.
But when I'm out seeing a band, especially a band that's, you're playing stuff to try to entertain the crowd.
Yep.
I mean, if I've always a big fan of the story of how Huey Lewis and the News got signed, if you've ever read about it. But basically
it's ringing a bell, but it's not. Give it to me because I don't remember it off the top of my head.
Basically, they were in a dead bar. Nobody was there. And a record guy shows up, not even there to sign them. He just happens to come there. And they're playing like they're playing in front of an arena full of people. And he thought, if they're playing like that to nobody, what would they do in front of...
I have heard that story. I do remember that now.
And even like when if I've been playing before and it's an empty bar, I'm consciously telling myself, don't just stand here. It doesn't matter if there's one person out there. If you're bored, they're bored.
Absolutely. The only thing I do different if I'm in that situation where the room's kind of empty, I don't do quite as much. And the only reason I do, and I freely admit it, is because it does physically hurt me. So after a while, I'm like, okay, there's only 20 people in here and 15 of them are paying their tabs. I don't need to do that many tricks right now. I'm good. I'm just going to lay down a groove.
And especially for the drummer, someone doesn't hurt like when I, move around or whatever, but
right.
I'll catch myself sometimes kind of standing there.
You see that? That's from a week and a half ago. I just showed a big nasty blister on my hand.
I'll catch myself standing there.
What are you looking at, lady?
Picking her hairdo. But I'll catch myself standing there, and I'm like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
If I'm bored, they're bored, and I have to, remind myself. It's easy when the crowd's all into it.
Absolutely.
It's work sometimes.
It is work, and I've said this for years. I wrote about it in the book. I've tried to pass it on to most of my older students. If somebody gets off their ass, hopefully takes a shower, gets in their car, drives to where you're playing, pays a cover, some cities pays to park, waddles their ass up to the bar, and then waddles their ass up to the stage. If I'm on that stage, my job is to entertain them. If I don't do that, or if I don't at least attempt to do it, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah.
That's what I get paid for. And there's something to be said about what you said earlier about you go to see a show. When's the last time you said, hey, let's go hear Motley Crue at the Coliseum? You've never said that in your life. Nobody has. You say, dude, I'm totally going to see Crue at the Yum Center. And you say it like you're a 12-year-old because you're excited to go, quote, see the show.
Yeah.
It's like I've said it on this podcast before. Why do you think Kiss has had a 40-something year career? They're not the greatest musicians. And I'm not dogging them. They've said that out of their own mouth. But you go to see that show. You go to see the fucking pyro and Gene spit blood and Paul fly around and drum solos out the ass, which I don't go for drum solos, but whatever. But you get the point. I mean, you're 100% right. I think somewhere people just forget about that. Musicians forget and they get too caught up in this note has to be perfect. It's never going to be perfect because you didn't write that note. If you're in an original band, completely different world, and I get it. But you and I, we do the same thing. We're in covers. I mean, I haven't been in originals for a while. It's too damn complicated. Too much drama, not enough money. Anyway, go ahead.
Oh, that was it.
Well, fine. There, we're done with that part. Now, you're still in Everything's Good with From Paris, right?
Yeah. We just the nature of what we do, we're not usually playing every weekend. By design, that was never the goal. The goal of the band.
Yeah, because you do a lot of private and corporate stuff, right?
Yeah.
And are you doing weddings too?
Yeah, a lot of weddings. But with weddings, different months are a little busier than others.
Yeah, we do. I don't do, Gas Money doesn't do as many weddings as I would like, but we do a few, and most of them are probably towards the end of the summer. At least for us, most of them are towards the end of the summer.
We do have one next month in Lexington.
Are you going to crash it? I will get you to talk. You will utter something. You will. I'll get you. Take me a minute, but I'll get you.
The microphone doesn't pick up middle fingers, does it?
No. I wish it did. That would be cool. When's the last time you guys played together?
We did play New Directions. Was that the last show we did? She has a much better memories than I do. I think New Directions was...
She's nodding her head. I'll take that as a yes.
February? March? Yeah, March. So it's been a little while.
Now, for those, most of our core friends will know, but for those that don't know, who's in that band with you?
From Paris, Kemet Cantwell, Eric Horton, Bob Ramsey, and Donnie Hyland, and myself.
Oh, yeah, then you. then there's you.
And there's me.
Then there's you. The cute one over in the corner, jumping around. And when did you guys start that band?
They actually started before I joined. Jeff Crane was the original bass player.
I know Jeff. I don't know him well, but I know him.
And
good player.
I was doing a similar type thing with Alan Needham and Sarah Smith, my brother-in-law, Mark Hubry.
Who is Mark Hubry? Why is that name? No, I'm being serious. Why does that name ring a bell?
Mark started playing with Kevin and Chip with the Avant-Garde Dog stuff.
Duh.
And
that's right. Yeah.
He played in Pink Floyd.
Sorry. His last name starts with a W, so I always forget it's pronounced that way. Hey, I've admitted I'm fucking dumb.
Who?
I got no problem. Yeah, I got it, Chuck. I got it. I threatened to punch you, but your arms would crush me.
So anyway, that band ended up kind of fizzling out. About the same time, Jeff left from Paris, and Kemet called and asked if I would be interested in joining. And not too long after I was with them, Rob Johnson, bless his heart, was our original guitar player, who was an amazing. And he passed away of cancer.
Right.
So we were fortunate enough to have Shane Eisenberg fill in for several gigs with us, but we went on a little hiatus for a while because we didn't have a regular guitar player until we were blessed with Eric Horton, who came into our lives, and it's been great ever since.
Yeah, that dude's good. I've only got a chance to play with Eric a couple times.
As good as he is, I know it's a cliche, but he's 10 times a better guy. He's a
super nice dude.
We become, he joined the band, and I've never been in a band that was actually, I've never had a band that had auditions. It was like, hey, I know a guy that's not playing anywhere.
Right.
And so From Paris, when we were looking for a new guitar player, some people auditioned, and we were looking for something really specific.
Right.
And Eric, as amazing as he is, he can, play all the leads and all that kind of stuff. But then, if a song calls for 3 chords and Taylor Swift, to get people to dance, he'll play
3 chords and Taylor Swift. Yeah.
He's just so good. I mean, right now he's filling in with Kemet tonight in Doug's place. So if you're filling in for Doug Florio, you're...
Oh, absolutely. Well, what I was going to say is I played with, only a couple times, but I played with Eric when I was doing some stuff with Peter Searcy.
Oh, yeah.
Many years ago. I'd only been in town a couple of years, so I guess 8-9 years ago is when I did it. And Eric and I aren't close, and I'm not saying that because there's any beef. I've never had a chance to really hang with him. I've only got to play with him a couple times, but every time I've ever seen him out, he's super fucking cool. Super nice dude.
Great dude.
So, before we go to social media issues, how long were you in Naked Garden?
I was in Naked Garden for 2 stints. I was the original bass player.
What exactly is a stint?
Well, not like the stint in
Does
your
your
heart.
hot wife know?
2 time periods.
You're good, girlfriend. I got to give you credit. You're good. I'll find something to make your ass talk. At least giggle. You got to give me a giggle. Nothing? Fine. Whatever. Go ahead. Back to you.
I was the original bass player when we started 15 years ago.
It's been around that long?
Yeah, as a matter of fact, last weekend, Kevin always throws a anniversary birthday Naked Garden party,
right,
where all the ex-members come back. So we actually just did that last weekend. Our very first show was 15 years ago, actually pretty much this week, because our first show was at a little bar down on Broadway for Thunder Over Louisville.
Oh, nice. Very cool.
And so we were all young and green, and
All right.
Cutting our teeth in the bar scene. And Kevin is a phenomenal businessman. Like he ended up getting us in Phoenix Hill and some of the places, and he would just put the band first all the time and really try to drive the band. And every time there's been a member come or go, he keeps it going.
Right.
I would joke.
Well, and he's another one too that's super nice dude.
Kevin.
Yeah, super nice dude.
Yeah,
at least to me he is.
Oh, he's super cool, and he supports the live.
Yeah, he's
bands
come
and
to see
everything.
us a few times, and of course we've gone to see him a few times. I've never seen them with you in the band, which is weird.
Oh, really?
Yeah. In fact, the last time I saw him, I was Gas Money was at Baxter's, and they were at Wick's. I was walking from Starbucks to Baxter's, and I saw Jeff sitting on the street. He was waiting at the red light, and he had his drums in his truck. So I walked over, and I kind of ran over, and I stepped my coffee on his truck, on the hood of his truck, and I started acting like I was humping his truck. And he looked at me for a minute before he realized it was me. And then he starts laughing, and he starts beeping his horn and stuff. But anyway, they came to see us for a set, and then when we got done, because we always get done early at Baxter's, we went over to Wick's. Stacy actually went over there before we were done. She took a few of her friends over there, so it was really cool. But long story short, he's always been super cool and super supportive. I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, they're all great guys, and
except that Jeff dude. God, what an ass! I'm just kidding.
His nickname is Richard. Just FYI.
Good to know.
Yeah, Kevin gave him that. But so we started in 2003, and I played until 2005, I guess. I was still in college at the time. We got married, we bought a house, and I had back surgery. And so I couldn't do anything for a while.
Right.
And so the only thing I can give up right now is music. I have to go to school, I have to work, and all these things. So I stopped playing. They got another bass player, and they went on, kept it going. I eventually got to the point where I was like, I have to play again.
Right.
Andy Ramser was just starting her first band at the time, and they needed a bass player. So they got me to play bass. So I played bass with them for a while, and it was just different kind of music.
Right.
They were doing different kind of music, kind of more the lighter stuff. In my heart, I still was a rock guy.
Right.
So after Naked Garden went through a couple different bass players, Kevin called me one day, and he's like, our bass player, just left, and would you want to come back? And I was like, yes, I need to play some Tool. I can only
I need to play something heavy. I'll be there tomorrow.
I can only play B-52s, So but no, they
What's
were
wrong
great.
with Love Shack?
No, but nothing.
I like
it's just rusted.
I like the pause right there. Oh, look at you with the rusted. That was good.
So I went back to Naked Garden, and it was probably 8 more years that I was with them again. So
right.
Probably 10 years with them total out of their 15.
I didn't realize you were with them twice. Now, why did you leave?
This time?
Yeah.
A lot of things, but when my mom died,
Mm-hmm.
that played a big factor into it. I'm giving all kinds of personal stuff, but my mom was one of 15 kids, so my extended family is huge.
I would say so.
So there were just always things, family wanting to do stuff, everything, her wanting to go do things, take weekend trips, and it was always, I got a gig, I can't do it, I got a gig. And when my mom passed away, we were sitting there in the hospice room, and just looking around the room, there was cousins, family, aunts,
Right.
uncles, Christy, and
You mean the hot chick over there in the corner that refuses to speak? That one?
and
She giggled. I heard it.
as much as I love the people who would come support me and all that kind of stuff, like there's nobody from the bar here.
Right.
Why do I put, the most important people in my life
Second
all the time to do this, which I love doing it, but it's not like you're making a ton of money.
Right.
That's not my career. I have.
Yeah, you have a big boy job.
So
I've been to your house, little mister.
not, most of it was...
Your house is nice.
Most of it, we had to get a bigger one because of all the cats.
That's okay. I'll come babysit them. I like that little tiny black one.
So those were the main core reasons. Just life's priorities changed.
No, I get it. And again, thank you for sharing. You didn't have to. No, I get it. Stacy and I talk about that all the time. And you, as my friend Anna, I guess a listener of my show, I wouldn't call you a fan because you're my friend, and that's just fucking weird. As you've listened to all the shows, that's why I wanted her on the show. Her episode was really cool, and I got a lot of really positive feedback from that, from most of our mutual friends going, dude, she's got great insight on that. I never thought about it that way. But there does come a point where you just kind of go, all right, I've missed 87 fucking birthdays. I've missed 47 weekend trips. Wife is super mad at me because I put this off for 27 times. I get it. And eventually you just kind of either stop or you pull back. I can never stop. Now I have pulled back, but if I stopped, that's a true story. We didn't talk about it on her episode, but I guess it was a few years ago. There was probably 4 months where I didn't gig, and she literally, there's one.
Boom.
She walked in the room one day. She walked in the living room, and I was sitting there, and I was a ball of just piss and vinegar. And she goes, "You need to go fucking play." I'm become a very miserable human being if I don't play. So I have to find that balance for me as well as for everything else. The advantage I have over someone like you, I'm not from here. I don't have any family here, and I'm not super family oriented. And I don't mean that in a shitty way. I never have been.
Yeah.
I don't think blood makes you family. I think you can kind of choose your family. I come from a line of fucking weirdos. My pop is awesome. My sister is awesome. One of my brothers is kind of cool, and fuck the rest of them. That's pretty much the gist of it. But I get exactly where you're coming from.
I'm pretty blessed. I have our family is really close. And I have tons of pictures. I mean, being out playing, and my mom would be there. And even my parents were a little older. So even as older parents, I remember playing a place over off Shelbyville Road called CD Graffitis. And it was
That's the coolest name ever.
Well, it was actually, during the day, it was a laser tag. And then at night, they would have bands.
Nice.
And so it's like a maze, but over in the corner, there was a stage. But it was at the time.
Did you have to go through the maze to get to the stage?
That
would have been cool.
The whole place was kind of a maze. So, like, there was an area that was a little open so people could kind of dance.
Did you chase Christy around the maze with hot dog grabbers?
Oh, this was way before we ever met.
Damn it.
This was early 90s, probably. But it was kind of a punk, a little bit, kind of scene there. And I can still remember when you came in, you had to get wanded and go through, like, a metal detector.
Yeah.
And so I remember standing there because we were playing that night, and here comes my mom and dad walking in, and these are older, gray-haired people, and there's my dad up against a wall getting wanded, right behind a guy with a big green mohawk and a dog collar.
That's awesome.
But they were very supportive of me all the time, and letting me play my Kiss record on their coffee table stereo in the living room. So it was, I was really blessed, and family still comes out to, especially from Paris. They really like the type of music we do. So my aunts and uncles love it.
No, I get that. I can count on one hand the amount of times, let me rephrase that, with the exception of my pop, because he's awesome. I can count on one hand the amount of times families come to see me play. They don't have a clue what I do. They just don't get it. And I'm not dogging them. It is what it is. And I'm not playing the sad violin either. Again, it is what it is.
And maybe because my mom was so into music,
mm-hmm.
and like I said, she taught me, the first things I knew about music. So I think she had an appreciation for it.
Right.
And because I think she thought I was probably going to put the guitar down like a week after starting it.
Right.
I think she was really surprised to see me pursue it so much.
Well, I think there's something to be said about that for the, and not getting philosophical, just my stupid dime store opinion, for that parent-child dynamic, because my dad and I, we didn't like each other for many, many, many years. I mean, we really didn't like each other. And he used to tell me all the time, fucking music is just shit. It's just stupid. He would go on and on and on about how stupid it was. And you know this about me because you're my friend. I didn't go to music school till I was 29. Yes, Louisville people, I didn't just start in music school. I paid a lot of dues for 17, 18 years before I went to music school. So stop telling me that I'm the music school kid. It gets on my nerves. Anyway, I didn't go to music school until I was 29. I graduated at 31. And he showed up to my graduation. Now, this was in Atlanta. He lived in Charlotte, North Carolina. I didn't know he was coming. Drove down to my graduation. We did the whole dinner thing. And one of the greatest days of my life, we're sitting at Olive Garden. I'll never forget this. And he looked across the table at me and he goes, I owe you an apology. And I said, for what? He said, I thought this shit was a phase. He said, and you just graduated music school with a 4.0. I said, yeah, I did. He said, I'm sorry I ever doubted you, and I'm proud of you. And we've been best friends ever since. Because I think it finally took him to realize, or took him seeing that, me never giving up. Not only am I going to keep doing this, I went to music school too. I went to music school as an old dude. Because 29 in the music world, I'm ancient. So by now I'm fucking what? We're Methuselah, right? Because you're same age as me. But he finally realized, oh shit, he's really going to do this in some capacity. And that was like one of my proudest moments. My pop just looking at me and going, I'm sorry, and I'm proud of you. I was like, sweet.
I think that, at least for me anyway, I don't think people realize how important that is to have that acceptance or whatever you want to call it from somebody who's that influential to you, like a parent would be.
Yeah. Because
I think that was a big driving force when my mom initially thought, oh, this is a phase you're going to go through, that I think that almost kind of pushed me to want to prove her wrong at first.
Oh, absolutely.
And then eventually, when
I did that to my parents. Oh yeah, I'll fucking show you. No, I get it.
And the whole time you're wanting to prove them wrong, but at the same time you want them to
approve of it.
Absolutely.
I get it.
But yeah, I 100% agree.
All right, so let's move on to social media issues. All right, so before you talk about social media issues, your wife is a fruitcake. I just found out that your wife does not like coffee. The smell of it makes her nauseous. That is not fucking human. But because she's an amazing woman, I suppose I will let it slide.
She gets up every morning at 3:30, so you'd think she would
need something. But I normally say I don't trust people that don't drink coffee, but it really makes her nauseous. That's weird. She's not going to talk, and it's fine, but that's just fucking weird. I'm wondering, do you drink coffee?
I'll drink it at work sometimes, but not.
Oh, God, you're both lame. That's it. Show's over. Get the fuck out. I'm done with both of you.
She has a makeup bag in her purse, but I think it's actually full of cocaine.
All right, so what do you got for social media issues?
Social media issues. I'm a big believer in Uncle Ben's philosophy from Spider-Man, that with great power becomes great responsibility. So I think with social media, I work in IT.
Mm-hmm.
So my career is supporting technology that allows people to share information.
Right.
I think it's critical. I think it's important. I think there are life-changing benefits to it.
Right.
At the same time, it's a double-edged sword. There's a lot of crap that comes along with it.
I agree. You've listened to all my shows. You know how I feel. Carry on.
I think one of the things I dislike the most is what it reflects of us.
Meaning?
I get caught up in it, so I know other people do sometimes, but you get caught up in seeing people's posts about how great everything is, and all of a sudden you get sucked into comparing yourself to what everybody else is doing. And
I got you.
Why isn't my life as good as theirs? And just the...
For the record, your wife is nodding her head. She agrees.
And then somebody makes a post that really, they're just stating something, but it's just like people get feel the need they have to voice their opinion on that person's opinion.
Right.
Just, I mean, whether you agree or disagree, just let that person have their opinion and go on with your day.
See, and that kind of stuff fascinates me, and I'm not going to beat a dead horse, but that's one of the reasons why I wanted social media issues on my show. Eventually, it's probably going to go away because so far, track record is everybody loves it, but they fucking hate it.
Yeah.
But the reason it fascinates me is because I see that kind of stuff on social media and I don't give two shits. I don't. I just look at it and go, cool. Or I look at it when they post what they ate and go, you're an idiot. But it fascinates me how people can sometimes get caught up in that stuff. And of course, I'm not saying that I'm perfect or I'm oblivious to everything. I think there's just a part of me that I just don't give enough of a shit for certain things not to mess with me. Does that make sense?
No, and I like when I see
Your posts are funny though.
Well, like
I am calling you out. Your posts are funny. That one you did today about the 1998 in 20 years we'll have flying cars, and in 2018 stop eating Tide Pods. That was pretty damn funny. I don't care where you got it. It was funny.
I mean, I think stuff like that is, that's the only reason I use it, either to promote a band I'm in or to make somebody, laugh a little bit. But if somebody else wants to voice their opinion on politics, that's their opinion. I'm going to scroll past it because I don't care about politics.
Right.
But
I don't.
I think sometimes it's sad that it shows how much people need to be right.
Right.
Or, it's like,
I'm always right. Just ask me.
So
I'll edit your ass if you disagree. I'm just kidding.
Those are the things I don't like. But I think there's a lot of good things. I have friends who live in other states and, all over the place, and I can see what they're up to. I can see, their kids, growing up, and
right.
Like my family's so big. It's not like we get together every weekend, so you can stay in touch with people that you don't usually get to talk to.
Squirrel moment. You're from Louisville, right?
Born and raised.
Okay. So is most of your family here?
Mostly out, actually, like Oldham County area.
Gotcha.
But
squirrel moment. Sorry, carry on.
Far enough that we don't see each other every weekend, but it's great to be able to keep.
My closest family member is over 800 miles away, and I like it.
I miss them. I gotta have a good family.
That's because you're a big old softy.
I am.
You ain't
Mama's boy.
You ain't hiding nothing with them guns. You're a big old softy.
Big mama's boy.
You said it, not me. I'm not getting punched in the mouth.
I'm proud of it.
That's good, though. That's a good thing. My mother's a little wacky. She's a little fruitcake. And wait, what does it Southerners say? Bless her heart.
Bless her heart. God love her.
Yeah, that's it. God love her. Well, no, I say it pretty much every episode, and I'm waiting for somebody to finally smack me. Technology is the greatest, worst thing ever invented. And it's just like everything else. People just abuse it, and they shit on it, and they use it for the wrong reasons.
That's why I always like the story of the Alfred Nobel and the Nobel Prize, that he invented dynamite, and then his brother died before he did, and a French reporter mistakenly thought he died, and he wrote a paper in the article that the Minister of Death had died. So Alfred Nobel was like, he invented it for the use for like construction, like to tear mountains down.
Right.
And he thought, oh my God, is this how I'm going to be remembered? Because my invention ended up being used for so many terrible things. So he created the Nobel Prize, for in peace and science, all those things, because he wanted a better legacy to be left instead of the Minister of Death. And so, I don't know, I just always think it's, when you're in technology and you see the great things it can do, I mean, the benefits that it's allowed for, medical purposes and everything, that there's so many good things. The internet is amazing. I mean,
absolutely.
How many things, you need to know, or, we learn about situations in other countries, right away.
No, I get it. I completely agree with you. If so the running joke between Todd and I is he'll ask me a dumb question, and I'll ask him a dumb question. I have to throw him under the bus because it's just fun for me. But the response is usually, oh, if there was only a handheld device that would give us the answer. But it's true. I mean, you can find anything you want, and it's amazing. Flip side, it's made us all lazy.
A little lazy.
When's the last time you picked up a dictionary?
Well,
Exactly.
I don't know if that makes it lazy because
No, but it's a small thing. But if you think about it in that sense, because you're my age, we used to have to go to the library and shit.
Oh yeah,
We used to have to actually pick up a book.
I still remember my parents had the Encyclopedia Britannica.
Britannicas, yes. Did
Every-
they have the blue ones or the maroon ones?
the maroon ones.
Yeah. High five in the microphone.
Every year the
I had the
new
blue ones.
the new one would come for and
I had
that's,
the blue ones, but I stole them.
that's how we would do our my book reports were
Nice.
out of Encyclopedia Britannica. But it's like I said, it's a double-edged sword, and like anything, it's how you choose to use it.
I think so too. I think, and again, that's what I said. I'd have to actually sit down and count. I think this is your episode 18 or 19. I'm not 100% sure. Eventually, I'm going to have to get rid of social media issues because everybody pretty much says the same thing. I'm going to run out of shit to talk about.
Yeah.
Or not. Maybe we could just start throwing individual profiles under the bus. That would be kind of cool.
Well, with this whole new thing that's come up with, the personal information that came from Facebook and all that stuff. So
You see me rolling my eyes right now, right? You work in IT, and we have not discussed this. I'm going to throw something at you. I want you to tell me if you agree or disagree. If you disagree, we're not going to talk about it because then you're going to prove me wrong on my own show, and that's going to suck. If you agree, we'll talk about it. I think this whole thing about that Facebook breach and all that, I think it's fucking stupid, and I will tell you why. I know she's not going to talk, but look what your wife has in her hand. What you have in your pocket. Mine's actually in the kitchen. But you give your personal information away every fucking time you open your phone. True or false?
no, I totally agree with that.
All right. Yay, I win. It just, I get what happened was a little fucked up. I get it. But everybody making this big giant stink, it's like, do you have any idea how much information is in your cell phone? Facebook is the least of your fucking problems.
Well, that's what I even post. I jokingly said, oh my gosh, they stole my information. They found out, I like bacon and music and dirty jokes. I mean, because,
right.
if you're sharing stuff on Facebook that is that, personal, that secretive,
that's your problem.
that's not the place to put that kind of information.
No.
If your doctor shares your information, that's a different.
It's a different story. I've always thought about it in this way: nobody's really worried about you, and what I mean by that is, I'll throw myself under the bus on this one. I don't have a whole lot of shit. I don't have shit tons of money in the bank. I don't have shit tons of money in a savings account. I'm not really worth a whole lot. Somebody that's coming after anything I have, they're going to look at me and go, yeah, fuck that guy. He's not worth my time. And I'm not belittling myself. You're in my home. I have a nice place. I have nice shit. But I'm not on anybody's radar. Nobody's coming after me for my shit.
Well, there is, on a flip side of that, there is some stuff, though, that with personal data, that you may not have anything. They're not coming to take what you have.
Oh, I have shitty credit, too.
But let's say that's what people can open accounts and stuff under your name, and next thing you know, you're in debt, and they're, they maybe went out and bought a bunch of pizza.
You're so cute. I'm in debt now. But that's what I'm getting at, though. I should have said that as well. I'm being completely transparent. My credit's okay. I don't have the greatest credit. I used to be able to finance the world, and then I got divorced.
Because they've even used deceased people's information.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Or they've actually used children's, social security numbers on that stuff. So I get it that, if somebody stole your Facebook information, if you have anything on there that's really critical, that's kind of on you. Right. But there is, I think there's a fine line when you're entrusting somebody with your information, right? Then I think they're responsible for it. But at the same time, if you don't pin your social security number to your front door,
right? I think there's different levels. But then again, to talk about the phone, because everybody does everything on their phone now, I know a few people, more than one, that have done their taxes on their phone. Are you fucking serious? At least use a computer for that. Got a little bit of a better block, not much, but a little bit better than, because anybody can hack a phone. You know what I mean? Because you've got so many apps. Again, I'm not computer smart. I just find it amusing that everybody's making a big stink about this when you put so much information in your phone any damn way. That's just my opinion.
It's funny how a lot of data is stolen, though, because a lot of people worry about transactions online and things like that. But most of those applications, like a tax app and stuff like that,
Mm-hmm.
the actual data that you're putting in
Mm-hmm.
is encrypted. So usually it's not as you enter that. A lot of times it's much more low level, like security breaches that you don't think about. Like
Oh, really?
people leaving a computer unlocked or guessing your password,
Mm-hmm.
or like the old phones where when you swipe the screen
Oh, yeah.
a certain way.
Yep.
Well, when it's off, you can actually like see the pattern that they would, swipe with, whatever.
Yep.
So a lot of stuff is stolen like that. But there are a lot of times when a lot of these big companies are hacked, what they do is they'll hack into their database, and then once they get the database, that's where they'll have access.
That's
to
where everything is.
thousands and thousands of customers' information and stuff
Yep.
like that. But it's all a risk we all take every time we get online. It's
True. You know I'm posting this online, right?
every time you step outside the door, there's a chance you could get hit.
Hit by bus.
we're
I've been
always
saying that for years.
we're always
hit by bus.
we're always taking chances. Just gotta be careful.
I think your wife needs to take a chance and talk. Damn it.
She's not even breathing loud.
I know, right? Is she even breathing? You better check on her.
Put a mirror up.
Do the old school fog test. I like it. This mirror gets foggy. She's alive. So let's move on to stories from the stage. All right, so what do you got for me? Give me a story or two or three or however many you want to throw at me. Stories from the stage. Something that
Stories from the
sticks
stage.
out in your mind.
Actually, one that I still think is kind of funny was actually that show we did with Brian. The stage was outside,
Mhm.
not covered, and it was just a big wooden, like plywood stage.
Oh, one of the super bouncy ones?
Yeah.
I hate those.
And it rained like early that morning or the night before or something like that. So it was damp.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to run around on stage. So I went to take off across the stage, slipped, fell flat on my face. And
Oh.
so that was kind of funny. But I don't have a lot of really cool ones because I've just mostly been a weekend warrior, bar gig kind of stuff.
Listen, I've played enough bars in my life. You've either seen some shit on stage or you've seen some shit after being on stage. It doesn't necessarily have to do with you. It could be just anything that you witnessed. Because trust me, I have ego lights and I can still see some shit going on. Going, did that just fucking happened?
Of course, well, they got the typical bar fights out there in the middle of the stage. One of my favorites, though, was we played Phoenix Hill, and Puddle of Mudd had done a concert that night in the saloon.
See, here we go.
And so we played after their concert. We played the rest of the night.
Right.
But they hung around and had their little merch table and all that kind of stuff. And the singer left, but the guitar player and the drummer hung out for a while, and they ended up getting up on stage with us and jammed a few songs. So the guitar player's playing, the drummer is back on Jeff's kit. This was a Halloween night, so it was a good packed house at Phoenix Hill. Jeff had a couple drinks, maybe.
No.
So
Not
we had
Jeff.
done a couple songs with them.
Right.
And so Jeff comes back on stage, and Jeff typically never sings anything. So as Jeff walks by, he just grabs my mic and just drags it over, and he looks back at the drummer of Puddle of Mudd, and he says, "Play Black Sabbath, you pussy." So we proceeded to play Black Sabbath, and Jeff sang
Nice. What song?
NIB.
Nice. How did he sing it?
Kind of like Ozzy would today.
That's fantastic. I love it. Oh, God, that's good shit. Oh,
I love you, Jeff.
Some days I love you, Jeff. Today, I love you. I don't even know if he listens to the show.
He better.
He needs to.
He does.
God. No, that's cool. I think we've all had so many combined experiences, whether we were involved in something or just saw some shit. I mean, dude, how much random shit have we seen from the stage? Just start pointing shit at going, that dude just hit his girlfriend. This is not going to end. I've seen it. I know you've seen it at least once.
One thing I do think is funny, it's not so much necessarily from the stage, but just from a night at a club, is you get there early to set up, then you play, and then you're there late to tear down everything.
Yeah, the playing is for free. We get paid for the setup and the teardown.
I think it's funny because I've been in bars where you watch people come in, and they come in sober, and then they get drunk, and I've seen like entire relationships take place over the course of the night. They came in sober.
Oh, absolutely.
They met somebody. Next thing you know, they're all over one another. Next thing you know, they're pissed drunk. Next thing you know, they're fighting. And then at the end of the night, one of them's crying, the other one's gone. And I'm like, you met that guy like 3 hours ago.
How just had a whole relationship.
A whole relationship in the last 3 hours.
That's true.
And I'm like, wow.
I've seen that. I've seen that several times. And I never put it together that way, but that's good. I like it.
I just always thought it was kind of humorous because I was like, that's a lot of emotions in
a 4-hour window. Wow. What do you think? Thumbs up.
Thumbs up.
I'm going to lose this battle, aren't I?
You bring one of the cats in, she might talk to it.
Oh, she threw her head back and closed her eyes. That means that's a weakness there. All right, so all those are good things. So let's move on to what am I listening to?
Everything that...
Hey, you listen to the show, motherfucker. You know there's some music right here. All right, so what do you got? What are you jamming on?
Everything that Carl Stuck posts and everything that somebody misses on the show.
Oh my God, what Carl has done. I love it. I do love it. It's annoying to me only because I don't do favorite anything. I hate doing it. And even after I did my 10 records, I really wanted to go back and do 10 more because I was like, well, that one's shit.
Well, I always feel...
But I'm glad he did it. Is what I was getting at.
But not really. He has a lot of good suggestions that I've never heard of them. I'll check them out.
Oh, absolutely.
But I wish I was more... I don't know what the word is with my music. Cerebral is the only word that comes to mind. But, I always hear...
a big fucking word.
I always hear everybody talk about these, prog rock type bands or these,
right.
really way out there type stuff. And maybe because of the music I grew up on and MTV and everything, I appreciate all that stuff. And I listen to it. I'm like, wow, that bass player is really good. That guitar player is really good. I'll listen to that,
Right.
But it's usually not what I'm going to turn up in the car and,
I get it.
Release my mind while I'm sitting in traffic on the way home.
It's what Dave calls it. You like big dumb rock,
right? Yeah,
and I'm not belittling it because that was when he said that. And him and I have been friends for years. But when he said that, I went, "That's fucking genius. That's what it is. You don't have to think about it."
Yeah. And so there's a band called Black Torah that I've really been into lately. It's a 3-piece band, but guitar player actually really is killer. But it's just good hard rock.
I'll have to check them out. I haven't heard of them.
It's
I remember seeing them on your feed, but I haven't listened to any of it.
So I've really been into them lately. But then another thing I've actually gotten really into is because I did love the 80s music and grew up on it. Once all that was over and it kind of became a stigma to say that you liked anything from the 80s,
whatever.
I didn't listen to any of that stuff. It wasn't on the radio anymore.
Right.
Well, I actually didn't realize until not too long ago, a lot of those bands that I really liked released music later.
Oh, yeah. A lot of them put out shit tons of records.
And so I've actually, especially with, the streaming music available and stuff, since you couldn't go buy it in a store, I'm like, let me look up, Tora or Lynch Mob with George Lynch.
Phantom Rider was one of my fucking jams back in the day.
Well, they have...
I love that record.
They have a couple...
That song, I mean.
Oh, they have a couple really good albums after that album.
Oh, do they?
Lynch Mob had albums out as recent as 2007.
I think I did know that about them. Because he did... Who was that project George Lynch did? He did a project with somebody recently.
Well, he did KXM with Doug Pinnick.
Yeah,
and,
that's it.
Korn's, what's Korn's drummer's name?
Dave Luzier.
Which, that's really
Luzier.
good. I do listen to that. That's, they
Luzier. I don't know how to pronounce that shit.
KXM is a band.
Yeah, that stuff was really, really good.
Yeah, they are good. I do like them. But Black Tour is one I've been listening to a lot
I need
lately.
to check them out.
Like I said, if you like just hard driving, it's really guitar driven, so it's a lot of the guitar player is really good. Drummer doesn't do anything that it's not going to blow you away or anything. But like I said, you can turn it up loud in your car and have a good time. But so that's the one that I've been listening to the most. And then a lot of the other things that people have suggested on your show, I go and check out, because that's the thing with a lot of the radio stations. They kind of tell you what you have to listen to,
right?
And if you aren't exposed to it any other way, how do you even hear about it?
Yeah, you're not really gonna know. And I don't know if I've ever said this on the show or not, but I've never been a huge fan of radio. And I'm not slamming on it. Radio is one of the most amazing inventions ever. Music history as we know it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for radio.
Tesla has some really good new stuff too. Speaking of radio.
Oh, nice. I have to check that out.
Simplicity is their newest album.
Well, when Dave was on here, he was talking about Judas Priest's new record.
Yeah.
But the point I'm getting at is I've never been a radio listener because it annoyed me. The reason it annoyed me was the commercials. And when I talked about this on one of my episodes, but when you were trying to make quote mixtapes and the fucking DJ wouldn't shut up, it started to annoy me. So I started doing the whole record thing. But the point I'm getting at is I would ask all my friends what they were listening to and what they hated. And I would go immediately to what they hated. I did everything backwards. I was like, okay, they love this, this, and this, but they hate these two bands. I'm going to start there. And 9 times out of 10, I was right. It worked. I liked the bands that they hated. Not because they hated them. They were looking at it the wrong way. I was looking at it from a musician standpoint. They were looking at it from, oh, well, I can't, like you said, I can't turn this up in my car and drive down the road.
Yeah.
They had to think about it, and they didn't want to think about it. And I went, I want to think about that shit.
But another thing I hate about radio, too, is even the channels that play music kind of that I like the classic rock channels. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, Black Sabbath has songs other than
Paranoid,
yeah,
and War Pigs.
I was like, Kiss had 52 albums. They have songs other than Rock and Roll All Night Party. I'm like,
exactly.
Even when they play the bands that I like, it's like
same
same songs over and over.
Speaking of squirrel moment, because when my brain works, do you feel that the original Great White was underrated as a band?
I really like the original Great White.
Mm-hmm.
I think Jack Russell had a really good voice. Mm-hmm.
Never thought about that, have you?
I really liked the first album, Lady Red Light. I think is a killer song.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, yeah.
I'm not trying to sway you. I think they were underrated. I think they were one of the better musician caliber bands of that era, but they got lumped into that era, so I think they got overlooked. My opinion. Granted, I know they had a couple hits. I'm not talking about being famous and having hits and shit. I just mean a lot of musicians kind of discount them, and I'm going, man, those first 2 records were fucking amazing.
Well, then they did, have you ever heard their album where they just do all Led Zeppelin covers?
I've heard pieces of it. I've never heard the whole thing.
As far as musicianship, I always thought if you like the blues-based rock,
right?
I always really liked them.
I always thought they were phenomenal. I don't know what that just popped in my head. I guess because we come from the same musical background. I've never really asked anybody that. It just popped in my head because I've always thought they were underrated.
Have you seen them lately though?
Not lately, no. Well, there's 2 versions. Well, there's Jack Russell's Great White, and then there's Great White.
Have you seen either one of them?
I haven't seen either one of them, no. I'll be honest with you. I'm going to be an asshole. I wouldn't go see either one of them now anyway.
Well, they did a free concert at the State Fair, and it was a night that we played
Which
the
one?
fair. The
Great White or Jack Russell's Great White?
The Great White, okay. Not Jack Russell.
Who's singing for that one?
Well, that's what I was going to get to. I didn't realize there was a Jack Russell version, and so
I got you.
We played the fair, packed our stuff up, and then we just walked over and watched the free concert. And so I'm waiting for them to come out, and they come out, and the singer for the other group, he looks just like Poncherelli from Chips. and he has this jet black kind of hair helmet with
helmet head,
like overly white teeth, and he had gold chains around, and he had this like silk shirt with jeans, but they didn't look like they were denim. They looked like they maybe were like spandex that were supposed to look like jeans.
You talk about paint a rock star.
We were cracking up because the guy actually had a good voice, a pretty decent voice, but it was just like you had to like close your eyes and listen because you'd watched him and you were like, that's Punch.
It was that's Punch. What did it put you in the mindset of they're trying too hard to make him not look like Jack Russell?
No.
I like when I say something, you get that look on your face.
Well,
like,
I was trying
holy shit, I gotta think about that.
I don't think they couldn't make him look like him.
No, that's what I'm saying. Make him not look like Jack Russell. Go completely opposite. Let's just make this guy look like a fucking fruitcake so they know they're not looking at Jack Russell.
Possibly.
See? It's possible.
Because I can't knock him. The guy could sing, but it was just...
He just looked like Punch.
We were like...
Did you go to the Ingve show?
Yeah.
When he was here in October?
Yeah.
You and I talked about... Oh, yeah, that's right, duh. We were staying next to each other. See? Shitty memory. Old dude. I know you're older than me. Shut up. I have a bad memory.
She spoke as much at that concert as she has tonight.
That is very, very, very true. It is very true. I forgot.
And she looks as impressed.
Oh, she's fucking bored out of her mind. You had a little bit of fun at the Ingve show, though. Just a smidge. Come on, a dude in his... How old is that guy now? He's going to be in his 60s, right? Late 50s at least.
I would imagine.
Dude in his late 50s wearing leather pants running around. That's amusing for at least 45 seconds.
The Seinfeld pirate shirt?
Yes, the puffy shirt.
The puffy shirt.
Anyway, I thought that show was funny because he shoved his band over to stage left. And he had the entire rest of the stage. And the drummer had a pretty big rig. 2 kicks, 4 racks, a couple floors. I mean, it was pretty big. And everybody was literally, there's 2, I'm done. Everybody was literally stuffed in the corner.
I've never seen
I kind of felt bad. I haven't either. I kind of felt bad for those dudes.
And his best trick was to kick the pick.
Yep.
Like, that's all you got?
I will admit it on the show. I used to fucking worship that dude.
Oh, I did like Ingve. I mean, his Rising Force and all that.
Some of those early records were phenomenal. I used to love his shit so much because he always hired phenomenal drummers. Because they had to be able to keep up with they had to be able to keep up with all that shit. So you always had these badass drummers.
Dave Williams has some cool stories about Ingve.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's it, kids. That's a show for the week. Why are you looking at the microphone funny? You're pulling a Jess. It's pretty. See it? It's kind of
sparkly. It's like a disco ball.
It is kind of disco ball-ish. I should put lights in it. Do you know my Chuck he's got the old school 50s mics?
With the green light in it?
Yeah, he's got one with a green light in it.
When he was in the Phoenix Hill All-Star Band, he
brought that with him? He's still got it. He's got a blue one too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, this one looks like a ball, but it's got blue lights in it too.
That is cool looking because the lights were low when they were singing, and they were doing the Phil Collins In the Air Tonight.
Oh, yeah.
So with the lights low, and it kind of had like that green, like shining back on it. It looked pretty cool.
I don't know if I've ever told anybody this. There were 3, maybe 4 years in a row I was nominated for that and won it for the drummer for the All-Star Band, and every time I turned it down. I can say it now because the fucking bar's closed. It did. I turned it down 3 or 4 times in a row.
So you got time for one more story?
You can tell anything you want.
I know you're not from here, so it's not the same. But growing up here, Phoenix Hill was the first bar I ever actually was able to get into.
Right.
At the time, you could get in 18 and up, or at least they had 18 and up nights anyway.
Right.
And so as soon as there was a bar we could get in, we were like, oh, because we were huge Spanky Lee fans.
Never heard of him.
Huge. Have you heard of John Huffman? And did you ever hear Sweet F.A.?
I can't believe you fell for that. I just Kevin McCreary'd you.
No, I know you. You know Sweet F.A.
I do, but let's go back to Spanky Lee.
Well, I know everybody knows Spanky Lee. I knew you were joking.
Spanky Lee, I first saw Spanky Lee. Yes, I actually saw them because they got together and played Ryan Murphy's Wedding. That's how I met Chip Adams.
No way, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's how, so as I was taking lessons from Chip at the time, but So I was a huge Spanky Lee fan. So anywhere they would play that I could get in. Well, once we finally were able to get in Phoenix Hill and see bands, it was like, oh, yeah. But anyway.
And yes, I have heard of Sweet FA.
So, I'm young, 18, walking through the halls of Phoenix Hill and seeing those all-star band, plaques on the wall and everything. Right. And, it's like at the time I'm thinking, oh, that would be, so cool to ever. So finally, when I was nominated, I couldn't turn it down. I was like, it was too personal of a thing to be able to say.
No. I don't blame you. I will tell you straight up why I turned it down every year. Or 3 or 4 times I did, whatever. Talking to, and I hate to use the term old dudes, but since I am an old dude, I don't give a shit. Talking to a lot of the old dudes that have been here pretty much their whole life, they all told me the same things. Like, doesn't mean what it used to mean. Yeah. And you not being from here, nobody's going to give a shit. And I went, okay. I took the advice with a grain of salt. And then the band that formed, and I don't remember what year it was 7, 8 years ago. The band that got formed, I went there the night that they were doing their thing, and there was probably 30 people in the roof garden, and I went, yeah, no, I'm good. If I ever get nominated, I'm not interested. And I did 3 or 4 years in a row, and I said, nope. I turned it all down. And I think, and I'm not going to say who it was because I'm a bus thrower under all day long, but some things are best left unsaid, so I will leave his name out of it. But he was right. Back in the day, I'm sure it meant a shit ton. But last 15 years doesn't mean dick 50 anymore. Because I think it's just like, kind of like the social media thing. Over and over and over and over and over and over and over, it doesn't mean as much. Yeah. It just gets played out. Nobody cares. Then it just becomes something to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, like I said, it was more of such a personal thing.
But for you, I get it. And you were probably voted in a while back when it actually still kind of meant something.
It was 2011. It wasn't that long ago.
Oh, I didn't mean shit. I'm just kidding.
But like kidding. It was cool because I got to play with George Paul Smith and
never heard of him.
Al Needham. So it was kind of neat to get
George Paul Smith doesn't even look like George Paul Smith anymore.
Well, because he's doing Duck Dynasty now.
I don't know if I'd call it Duck Dynasty. That I ran into him, and I didn't know who it was for a second. It took me a minute, and I went, "Dude, you look fucking great. You look different, but you look fucking great." He does. He looks good.
I know it. He does.
It's pretty weird,
especially on that bike. He's got a cool bike.
He does have a cool bike. All right, I'm done talking about you because I know you don't listen to the show because you're an asshole. So that's it. We're out of here. I hope you learned something about my buddy Chuck and his mute wife who never speaks. She does speak every now and then. It's usually very polite and squeaky high. Unless you get to talking about cats, and then girl never shuts up, which I appreciate. I actually do appreciate that. You got to at least walk over here and high-five me to the microphone. Yes! So I hope you learned something. I thank you guys for hanging out with us. And as I say at the end of every episode, go do some shit. Chuck, tell them.
Go do some shit.
Ooh, you put some good stank on that. You were like, shit. That was good. Go practice.
Not just some regular shit. Some shit.
Oh, some shit. I just thought of something. That's the first cuss word you said. Second.
I said fuck.
When did you say fuck?
Earlier.
Did you?
Mm-hmm. That's when you made fun of me because that was you said that was the first word.
Oh, yeah, but where you said it, though, I'm probably going to edit that out. Well, fuck. High five in the microphone. So until next time, I will talk at you soon.